Hello there, good evening. You're watching ABC News. This is ABC Prime. I am Eric Chinibuamelo. Coming up in the headlines. The Supreme Court has announced the recollated result of 4 contentious seats in the 2024 elections, directing a rehearing at the High Court. We will have conversations on this. The New Patriotic Party in Yendi constituency has expelled 173 members of breaching the party's constitution as the party takes reforming steps. But we ask, is this the right way to go? We will also speak with some experts on this matter. Still to come, pharmacists express concerns over rising purchase of sex boosters during Christmas festivities. We will engage a medical expert on the possible implications of this trend for the users. Later in business, IC Research Institute has predicted Ghana's inflation to return to a single digit in the first quarter of 2026. Later on the international front, at least 10 people were killed and several wounded when a Nigerian military fighter jet pursuing bandits in 2 villages mistakenly bombed civilians on the northern west state of Sokoto. Stay with us, we have details of this and more coming up shortly. You're welcome again to the program. We're streaming live on YouTube, ABC News Ghana. Let's know what you think about it. Once again, I am Eric Chinibuamelo. Let's right straight to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has quashed a High Court ruling that allowed the EC to recollate parliamentary election results for Kwankwe Central, Ablekumo North, Tema Central, and the Chiman South. This decision overturned the Electoral Commission's recollation and subsequent declarations from these constituencies, which had been the subject of intense legal and political dispute. However, the court's ruling does not affect the recollated result for Nsawam Adwejiri and Ahafo Southwest, which remain valid and upheld. The Supreme Court's decision underscores the judiciary's critical role in addressing electoral irregularities and ensuring adherence in constitutional and procedural requirements. The court emphasized that the High Court trial judge violated the right of the NDC parliamentary candidate to fair hearing.
Are separate and distinct. We have decided to exercise our discretionary power to quash by certiorari, having regard to the peculiar circumstances of each ruling. Consequently, we hereby quash the orders of mandamus made for collation of results by the Electoral Commission in the following constituencies. 1. Okaigwe Central. 2. Ablekumo North. 3. Tema Central. And 4. Techiman South. Accordingly, the collation of results in the above constituencies by the Electoral Commission after 20th December 2024 on the orders of the court are hereby set aside. For the avoidance of doubt, the orders of the High Court made in respect of Nsawam Adwejiri and Ahafo North are not affected by this order, our order, and in effect, those declarations stand. Despite quashing the orders stated above, the applications for mandamus themselves are still alive and ought to be heard and determined. In line with our conclusion on this application, we exercise our powers under Article 1294 of the 1992 Constitution and make an order pursuant to Order 55, Rule 65, to the effect that the applicants herein are granted leave to file affidavits and statement of case in answer to the respective applications for mandamus which have not been quashed. No, which have not.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has ordered the High Court to grant the 4 NDC parliamentary candidates in the constituencies a hearing of a substantive case where the NPP sought a recollection of result in the constituencies. The presiding judge, Justice Gabriel Puaman, while delivering the ruling, says the court has taken notice of the elapsing time frame and exigencies of the case and has therefore abridged the refiling of statement of case to 2 days and directed that the High Court under a new judge sit on the case on Tuesday, 31st December 2024.
Because as interested parties, the time for filing is hereby abridged to 2 days from today. The applicants for mandamus in the High Court upon service may respond to the processes of the interested parties. Having regard to the circumstance of time constraint on the national electoral calendar, we hereby abridge the time for a hearing of the mandamus applications in the High Court and direct the High Court to hear the applications for mandamus on Tuesday, 31st December 2024. I hope Tuesday is 31st. On the issue of bias, we are not satisfied that sufficient evidence has been provided to us by the applicants. Nevertheless, in order to maintain the integrity of the adjudicatory process and in line with the practice of this court in cases such as Republic versus High Court, ex parte, Adjua Company Limited, Auditor General, Interested Party, 2019-2020 Supreme Court Law Report of Ghana, Adare, we hereby direct that the applications for mandamus that are extant shall be placed before a different High Court judge for hearing and determination. To conclude,
well, after the Supreme Court's ruling today, some of the MPs spoke to the media. Let's take a look at their reactions following the verdict.
And I think that this experience equips us to be able to represent all our people a lot better. So we're very grateful and for the opportunity. And also we want to say hello to Ghanaians and our constituents. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thank you.
She's here.
Well, I think it's a good day for country. The whole world is watching, not just Ghana. So I think it's just the beginning of coming together as one people. And then I think it redeems the image to an extent of our courts and our judges. So.
Meanwhile, the lead counsel for the National Democratic Congress, lawyer Edudzi Tamaklo, stated that there has been fairness following today's ruling by the Supreme Court.
I want to thank my able co-counsels here, my seniors who accompanied us to court today for this one. At least fairness has been done today, and that is all that we're calling for. The fact that we have to go to the High Court, what strategies we are going to deploy, I will not disclose it. But I just want to thank everyone for this. And I'll urge our party supporters in Ahafano and Suhun to stay calm and watch what we'll be doing going forward. Now, understand the policy rationale. I mean, making a definite finding of bias against a judge obviously it's not an easy start, right? But we've made a point, to the point that the court itself agrees that he should not hear the matter again. It's enough rebuke of the entire process that he actually supervised, and that for us is significant. Yes.
What word do you have for the constituents in these 4 areas?
No, I just, they should stay calm and we'll take it out from there. What's important is that all the coalitions, the declarations that happen, that are founded on those orders, have all been set aside.
Well, still on the Supreme Court ruling, lead counsel for the New Patriotic Party, Gary Numaku, stated that the NPP is prepared for the upcoming court hearing. He also emphasized the NDC must uphold the rule of law.
NDC said they were not heard on the application. They came to court to say that they were not heard. The court said it's a fundamental rule to be heard. So go back to the court and have your matter heard. So it's simplicity. We are going back on Tuesday. They will file their response. Okay, on why they think that there was collation or there was no collation. The court will hear the matter, make an order for EC to go and make collation and declaration. That is the point. So it's not about recollation. So this word recollation, that is up to them. The court has spoken already, so that ends the matter.
You face them?
Face who? We are not fighting. They are brothers. We are not fighting. You saw me hugging them and talking to them. And this year they are not enemies. We are not fighting.
Let's have a conversation on the back of this, and we want to speak with constitutional lawyer, lawyer Kwame Adofo, to have a legal perspective of what ensued this afternoon after the Supreme Court hearing and verdict. Also, we understand also that come Tuesday, 31st, of December, the Accra High Court or a High Court would have to sit on the case again. But in view of this, we want to get the perspective in terms of the legalities of the Supreme Court's verdict and also understand what this means in terms of law. Lawyer Kwame Adofo has joined us via Zoom, and counsel, I believe, is on the line. Counsel, good evening.
Good evening.
Counsel, let me just ask you, the court held that the NDC, parliamentary candidates were not given a right to be heard. Do you see this as the main factor in the decision to uphold the verdict that we saw this afternoon?
Exactly. And you would recall that when I spoke with you this afternoon, I made the point that if the court finds that they were not given an opportunity to be heard, that would be a fundamental breach of the rules of natural justice. Now, the court has heard both parties or all sides of the argument and concluded that, yes, when the court at the High Court was hearing the mandamus, the NDC had approached the court and sought to be joined, but they were not heard on the matter. And therefore, the right to be heard, the principle has been breached. Consequently, anything that flows thereon is null and void. That is a decision.
Counsel? Hello, counsel.
From High Court that day. Hello?
Lawyer, we're struggling to hear you properly. If you can position yourself so we can...
Hello?
Yes, lawyer, go on.
Is it better?
Absolutely, carry on.
Okay. Let me say again that as we spoke in the afternoon, and the position I made was clear, that if the court finds that there had been a breach of the rules of natural justice, then the court is likely to hold that the decision was null and void. Now, the court heard all the parties today. I mean, when I say the court, I mean the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court formed the view that once the High Court judge became aware that there were other people knocking on the door, so to speak, to be heard, the court had a duty to hear them. And therefore, by failing to hear them, that in itself is a fundamental breach of the rules of natural justice. The consequential effect of that is that the decision that the EC took as a result of the judgment or the ruling of the High Court is of no EC collates those constituencies after the High Court directed it to do so is of no consequence now, meaning it's null and void. Now, one may ask, so what then is all this exercise? Look, it means the EC, those 4 constituencies has not been collated yet. That's what it means. So if the EC is satisfied that it hasn't done the collation, then it means it has to do the collation for those constituencies. But if the EC formed the view that it has done the collation before the High Court made its ruling, then it means we are coming back to the same situation. I don't know if you are following the argument I'm making.
Lawyer, I'm following.
Yes, because you see, there was a direction by the High Court for the EC to go and collate those constituencies. The Supreme Court today says that direction, any collation that was done by the EC is null and void because the interested party, i.e. the NDC that approached the High Court, should have been given a hearing first. And the High Court not giving them a hearing means they've been denying the rules of natural justice. Interesting argument, but I'll wait to see the reasons that they give to support that position.
Counsel, given the court's decision, what obligations does the Electoral Commission also have to comply with these orders? And perhaps, what are the legal consequences if they fail to perhaps adhere to such rulings?
If you can repeat the question, because there was a break, I didn't quite get the.
I was asking. I was asking, given the decision of the Supreme Court's decision, what obligations does the Electoral Commission have to comply with these orders, and what are perhaps the legal consequences involved here?
Look, what this ruling today means is that any collation that the EC did following from the orders of the High Court is null and void, meaning it's up to the EC to now on its own or wait till a court also order it to do otherwise. So the EC now will have to make a judgment whether, given that everything they've done as a result of the High Court has now been set aside, are they now going to do their own collation or they are going to go back to the collation that they say was never done, that the NDC is claiming that was done? That is a matter for the EC. But essentially it means the collation and declaration for those constituencies have now been set aside. And therefore, the EC now on its own cannot act on the High Court ruling anymore, because that ruling has effectively been set aside. So, but that is not stopping the EC on its own from doing its own work. So the EC on its own can now say, okay, we accept that everything we did from the High Court ruling is now set aside. But we are the authorized body. We are going to do the collation. I'm inviting both parties to attend for us to do the collation. If that goes on ahead, then the EC will come to maybe the same conclusion. I think that's in essence what can happen. But this is a very strange ruling, because if you look at it, essentially they haven't been granted what they wanted. And it looks like, the EC may end up coming back to the same conclusion, because it is the only authorized body to count, so to speak. The Supreme Court would never give you any numbers. Supreme Court or the High Court cannot count. It's the EC that has the mandate to count and declare someone.
Counsel, let me also ask you this before we let you go, because we have been also joined by the Deputy Director of Elections and IT with the National Democratic Congress.
So all this exercise, in the end, will come back to the EC to decide.
I mean, finally, before I let you go, the Supreme Court also directed the High Court to the mandamus application on December 31. Looking at the time left and the existence of this case, do you think the case can be completed before December 7 when the 9th Parliament is being constituted?
The answer is absolutely yes, and this is why. You see, mandamus applications are usually straightforward stuff. And I must say, I'm even surprised that the court granted it. Because if you look at the orders, the mandamus application was directed at the Electoral Commission. It was not directed at any other party. This is why I was surprised that the court granted it. It was not directed at any other body, but the EC. The EC has no complaint. So the question that arises is, in what capacity did the NDC approach the court to be heard? But then the Supreme Court says, whenever somebody approaches you and say, I have an interest, I want to be heard, you should at least hear him. So that's essentially what the Supreme Court wanted to say. That if somebody approaches and says, I have an interest, you should at least hear him before you move forward to the next level. And in this case, the NDC as a party was not given an opportunity to be heard. And that's the only reason why the court has decided to set the ruling aside. But having said that, the EC, again, is the only body mandated to declare. So let's say now there is no coalition again as a result of the High Court ruling, which has now been set aside. Is the EC going to say that the previously collated figures that the EC rejects is now going to be the fallback position? Absolutely not. I can't see how the EC can now go back and say, oh, because of the High Court ruling, I'm going back to accept what we rejected. The EC rejected. We are going back to accept it. I can't see how that will happen, because essentially, if the EC saw that coalition was proper, it would never have come and done the coalition again. But because in its own view, the EC doesn't see that as coalition. That's why I can say that in the end, we may come back to the same position.
Right.
So you ask yourself,
Counsel,
what is all this exercise?
Counsel, we're grateful for your time this evening. As always, we appreciate the fact that you always engage us on the back of legal, basis on issues. Once again, we appreciate. We have been speaking to Kwame Adofo, lawyer who is a constitutional lawyer, but we have been joined on the phone by Deputy Director of Elections and IT, Dr. Rashid Tanko. Doc, you're welcome once again to our program, and thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, thank you. Let me say good evening to you and your cherished listeners. But let me correct some impression here. I mean, the lawyer has not been following the proceedings very well. And what has happened? There was declarations. The EC declared. EC is not Jean Mensa or Bossman or Tete. EC is a corporate body that has officers who act on its behalf. And the CI 127 is very clear upon who declares parliamentary results. It is not Bossman. It's not Tete or Jean Mensa. They have no business in parliamentary elections. The CI is very clear. It is the returning officer of each constituency who so declares parliamentary elections. And they did the declaration. That is our point. And so if you're saying that there is a forward, there's already a declaration. Our argument has always been that there was a declaration on the 9th by these constituencies, returning officers. And we have footages, videos of the declaration so made. They didn't do the declaration under any duress. That has been our point. And so on what basis were they going under a writ of mandamus to force the Electoral Commission to do another recollation and then do another declaration? That is our point. And that is why we wanted to join the matter to argue our case. because in granting the mandamus, it was going to affect us. So we are not surprised the Supreme Court quashed it and threw the X onto their faces. I mean, what is this? Why can't we call a spade in Ghana? But rather try to call it long spoons.
Doc, I was just about asking my first question, but you jumped the gun and quickly, proceeded. But that's fine. But does this bring relief to the National Democratic Congress, or perhaps you're still eyeing for the hearing of the High Court?
Of course, you see, the travesty of justice that occurred in the High Court has been corrected today. We're not going to allow it. Our main objective was to make sure that our democracy and the sanctity of electoral processes are upheld. That is why we went to the Supreme Court to correct this. Otherwise, if we had allowed this one to stay, the precedent it was going to set? The precedent to set was that anytime there is a declaration and I'm not happy with the declaration, I'll go and see some crooked electoral officers at the national level and ask them that they use a gun to force the returning officer to do the declaration. So don't uphold it. And they will say that we won't respect such declarations. Meanwhile,
hello, Dr. Tanko.
For 60s, when you think that declaration was not properly done, or this thing, somebody was coerced or intimidated to do declaration, go to the High Court, file a writ there, and then they will hear it and can make a determination on it. It's a simple matter. Why would the electoral commissioners will constitute themselves into judges and deciding which constituency to uphold and which one not to uphold? It doesn't lie in their mouth. And I'm happy today the ruling has set it aside.
Doc, let me find out from you, with other constituencies like in Sawam and Ahafo Southwest, that the court also upheld the results over there, will the party challenge those, or you have also accepted the fate for that constituencies?
We are going to challenge them in a different forum. You see, why we didn't, you saw that in the second writ, our lawyers withdrew that one, the stay of execution. That included the Ansawa Adojire and all that. Our lawyers withdrew because those ones, collation had not completed and there were no declarations in those three constituencies. So it was understandable that we had to withdraw that matter after they quashed the four constituencies issues. We were coming in a different form to challenge those three constituencies.
Doc, I believe that still the NDC is not satisfied with the ruling of the Supreme Court, since you say when you challenge these other constituencies that it says it has upheld.
Well, we are not saying that we are happy with the decision of the Supreme Court, and we are very clear in our mind that, look, the evil act that was conducted on the 20th and 21st of this month has been corrected today. We are satisfied with that. Yes, as for the three constituencies, I am saying that it was within the mandate of the Supreme Court to have uphold it because those constituencies had not finished their collation and there were no declarations. So if EC had continued to finish that one, fine. We will use another means to challenge the decision because we're not part and parcel of that declaration they made on those three constituencies. So we'll come in a different forum to attack that one.
Doc, we're grateful for your time this evening. Thanks once again for having a conversation with us. We have been speaking to Deputy Director of ITs and Election with the National Democratic Congress, Dr. Rashid Tanko. Away from that, let's still do some more news, but still on politics. The New Patriotic Party in the Yendi constituency has expelled, I beg your pardon, with 173 members for breaching the party's constitution by contesting as independent candidate and supporting rival political parties during the December 7 election. The decision, which shook effect immediately, was announced in a statement signed by Alhaji Baba Ghazali, the NPP Yendi constituency chairman. It followed an expanded constituency executive committee meeting held on December 23, 2024, where party leaders reviewed complaints and petitions from members. The committee determined that the actions of the expelled individuals directly violated the party's rules and threatened its unity. This disciplinary action follows a similar move on the Aguna West constituency earlier this month, where the NPP expelled 280 members, including incumbent MP Cynthia Mamile Morrison. Ms. Morrison, who ran independent after losing the party's primaries, was removed alongside her supporters for defying party regulations. The NPP's constitution explicitly prohibits members from contesting against official candidates or supporting rival political entities, with Article 391 stating that such actions automatically forfeit membership. And the statement emphasized that the party will not hesitate to enforce its constitution against members whose action undermine its objectives. We want to have a conversation on the back of this and perhaps have some understanding of what this means. Not long ago, some few weeks ago, you will recall that the NPP also expelled some 280 members in the Aguna West constituency, including the incumbent Member of Parliament, that was Cynthia Mamle Morrison. And again, it has given another, concern about some members who have gotten themselves again into hot waters with the party's constitution and says that they have been expelled. And we will be joined on phone with our Northern Regional correspondent, Noah Nash, for a conversation on this to better understand how this report is being felt by the northern regions, and also have some conversations on that. I believe Noah is back on the line. Noah, if you can hear me, good evening. Hello, Noah. We're trying to connect with our Northern Regional correspondent, Noah Nash, for this conversation. Noah, if you can hear me, among the persons expelled, who are popular and their expulsion could harm the party in this?
Apart from the candidate that happens to be the independent candidate for the Yendi constituency, there hasn't been anybody who is quite popular. But in Bugulu, for instance, the chairman, the youth organizer, and some of those groups are very popular within those constituencies. They are the ones, there are people who come from the independent candidate's constituency. Let me say town. So those who come from his town are the candidates that are very popular. And so you realize that those chairman, from the chairman to even the women's organizer, they were divided among themselves. And you realize that if you are not with the independent candidate, then you are with the NDC candidate, who happens to be from the enclave that the party activities were taking place. So it's quite a mix, but the truth is that those individuals who were actually sanctioned by the party are all well-known individuals, very popular, very known, because their actions, because those groups and those individuals actually belongs to either Farou's group or Abibata's group. And then others also belong to the independent candidate. So because it became a split and Abibata was apparently not going to stand based on party decision, it apparently meant that if you are not with Farouk, then it means you have to switch a camp. That is how come you find people who were already loyal to the independent candidate were still stuck with the independent candidate. Then the rest then splitted among both the NDC and those who stay afloat and never participated in any party activity.
Noah, before I let you go, I mean, there have been, is there any growing factionalism within the NPP in the northern region, particularly in Yendi, that might have also attributed or contributed perhaps to these expulsions?
That has already existed. That factionalism has already existed. It has existed during the days when they had the primaries, where the Abibata camp complained about the conduct of the entire election. You remember that election was quite violent. It was disrupted, and you happen to even have assault meted out to the police commander of the northern region and his team, entire team. It took the intervention of the police, of military men at the Bewa Palace to actually intervene in the process when they invaded the police station in Yendi. So after that incident, the decision of the party, which is to call for a rerun, which never happened, also apparently affected the entire support base of the party, because Abibata was seen as to be a very strong candidate. She's a female. She has also done so well with mass-lock activities within the Yendi constituency and the entire enclave of the northern region, giving support to women. So it became a very split one, very strong one. But you see, this whole process to punish and suspend people was actually according to, even though the chairman was the one who forwarded the details to me, when I spoke to some sources, they were saying that, look, the plot was to get Abi Bata and his team. Unfortunately, they didn't get a very clear individual who is a very strong supporter of Abi Bata to actually pin him and then link it up to her to as a way to say that Abi Bata, you were the cause of the independent candidate getting these votes, and the reason is this and that. No, there wasn't anything that was linked to her. But yes, still investigations are still going on because, according to the party chairman, they are not done yet. The more information that comes out, and they get to suspect that it's needed to actually punish more people, they will do so.
Noah, we will be engaging you more on this conversation since it's a developing story, but keep your eyes on the ground. We'll be...
Can I give you a quick one? Can I give you a quick one?
Go on. We don't have much time, but you proceed with that.
A quick one is that NDC is also likely to do the same in Savulugu.
That's the latest you're reporting on that, right?
Yes.
Noah, we'll come to you for more details on that. But Noah Nash is Northern Regional Correspondent, and he says the NDC is likely to also take same action, just as the New Patriotic Party has, done, expelling 173, members of the party. Like I said earlier, some few weeks ago, in the Aguna West constituency, the NPP again expelled some 280 members, including the incumbent Member of Parliament, Cynthia Mamlet Morrison. Today, an additional 173. We asked, is this part of the restructuring of the party after the huge loss at the 2024 election? Perhaps this is a strategy, as some political analysts say, but is the process in the right direction? We want to have a conversation on that and perhaps have a better understanding of the implications that this could have for the New Patriotic Party in 2028 and beyond. But while we try to engage political science lecturer, on phone, we seem to be having some connection issues, trying to get him on phone, but we'll try and have a conversation and understand the other perspective in this. Away from that, let's do some more news on ABC Prime. Once again, you're watching us live on YouTube. You can tweet at us. It's a Christmas edition of the news. Tweet at us. Let's know what you think about the stories. I am Eric Chunibwa-Melu. And away from that, let's go straight to Parliament. And the leadership of the parliamentary committees from the Majority Caucus is appealing to the National Council of the New Patriotic Party to retain the current leadership of the Majority Caucus in the 9th Parliament. This appeal follows the NPP's significant defeat in the 2024 general election, which will relegate the party to the minority group in the 9th Parliament.
The leadership, the committee chairman and the vice persons of the 8th Parliament, and we've come to you this morning to tell you that it is the decision by chairman of the committees in Parliament to plead to the leadership of our party to maintain the leadership status quo in Parliament. Why do we say so? We say this because we are counting on experience and the nature of Parliament that the 9th Parliament is going to face now. Our numbers have dwindled, and for that matter, we need a front that is experienced to face the enormity of members in Parliament on the other side. And we have concluded.
Away from politics, let's do some activities. And amid the bustling festivities of the season, pharmacists are noticing a troubling shift in consumer behavior. While demand for condoms remains surprisingly low, the appetite for aphrodisiac continues to rise. This growing reliance on aphrodisiac is raising concerns among health professionals, especially with the increased risk during the holiday period. There's more in this report. Something unexpected is happening in pharmacies across Ghana. While demand for aphrodisiac is through the roof, condom sales have taken a significant dive. It's a trend that raises serious questions about public health, especially when it comes to preventing HIV. A trip to major pharmacies show a concerning pattern. Pharmacists who prefer to stay anonymous have quietly shared their worries about the unusually low condom sales this festive season, especially when compared to the high demand of aphrodisiacs.
Where I am, I don't think we difficult to do that.
Ghana AIDS Commission, over 23,000 people tested positive for HIV in the first half of 2022 alone. Fast forward to 2024, more than 34,000 new HIV infections have already been reported from January to September, a huge setback in Ghana's mission to end the epidemic by 2030. With these alarming numbers from the Ghana AIDS Commission, it's concerning to hear from people like Isaac and his friends who claim they can't enjoy sex if they use protection. For them, aphrodisiacs have become a must-have for ultimate experience.
The protection, to say protection, how they use protection, I don't know the reason why they use protection. For me, mostly, my woman, if I don't get any sickness, any SD, something, so me get protection there. But the contraceptive, today if I go buy some. Today I go buy some. Me, I take it the woman, we should take it. But me, I don't trust that. You do me a before. Oh, you do me a you do me some serious wow. When me say my head they ache me, so me say as I buy the contraceptive, say how do you feel okay? It's my own medicine. I drink it morning, afternoon, and evening. You see the car where just pass right now. If the seller, I drink them in the morning. Sometimes if I don't get much, I don't get any movements of cardiac to keep there. You see the distance there. The immune system at least strong for any match will come. But so me, you see the person waiting for you. He's my supplier. We do love him, but I don't know say this guy in the stock. But me and the stock come wow.
Yeah, but I can say the condom is very important to use it. The condom is very. And moreover, you know that most of 80% of Ghanaians don't use condom. They like it raw. They like it. I can say 90% of them, they like it raw. We, as we are sitting here, we like it raw.
Aphrodisiac, often marketed as natural ways to boost sexual desires, have become more popular than ever. They are seen as quick fixes to enhance performance, with many eager to spice up their holiday celebration. Even sex workers are reporting an increase in business as festive season rolls on. As the season continues, health professionals are urging people to take a more balanced approach to sexual health. But the big question remains, will Ghanaians choose the thrill of desire or the responsibility of protection? Eric Cheneboa-Melo, ABC News, Ghana, it remains. Joining us is Dr. Michael Manu. He's a medical officer at St. Elizabeth Hospital to have a conversation on this. Doc, this issue quite worrying, but how dangerous aphrodisiac that's the rise in patronage should be, concerning in this situation? Hello, Doc. Well, we seem to be having challenges connecting with Dr. Michael Manu. But Doc, once again, if you can hear me, good evening.
Good evening to you and your viewers. How are you doing?
Grateful. I'm great. But during this festive season, just as the reports say, just run us through the dangers affiliated with aphrodisiac that has seen the rise in patronage in this festive season.
The patronage may have increased this season. Because we are in a festive season, and during this season, there's increase in risk-seeking behavior. People will rather prioritize their pleasure over responsibility. So it's quite common to see people indulging in alcohol and such drug binges and all that. So it's reasonable to see that increase in use of aphrodisiacs. But what the listeners should realize is that the aphrodisiacs are going to help you in the short term, but the long term side effects may be unprecedented. So some of the side effects of using as aphrodisiac for a long time, the most important is you becoming dependent on it. Imagine a young man, let's say 20 to 25, who cannot have sex without aphrodisiacs. What's he going to be like in the next 10, 15 years? Every time he has a sexual encounter, he has to have an aphrodisiac. If these drugs are drugs initially were meant for older people, those who could not unfortunately rise to the occasion. So if you are using it at such young ages, psychologically get dependent and addicted, and they will be unable to function to a point where the drugs may not be able to help you rise to the occasion, even in the higher doses. So you realize people are going for even the or the unconfirmed or the traditional form of aphrodisiacs, the bitters and all those herbs, which unfortunately have these drugs, the sildenafil and the Cialis ground up in them. So you have these high doses of those drugs ground up in the herbal concoctions. These concoctions, you don't know the concentration of drugs in them. So you take them, then you have very bad side effects like priapism. Priapism is when someone has a painful, uncontrolled erection that can last for hours, 4 to 6 hours. You think that's a good idea? I beg not.
Doc, again, another question during this festive season is the low patronage in condoms. One would say that, given the significant rise in the new HIV infection reports by the Ghana AIDS Commission, how concerning is it that condom sales are seeing quite a huge decline, whereas aphrodisiac use is on the rise?
Yes, thank you. So globally, you can see that the use of barrier methods of protection are on the decrease, especially now that we have pills that you can take after sex to kind of reduce the risk of HIV. Those drugs are now available that we can, the people can take to prevent the risk of HIV. But unfortunately, the patronage of those drugs are low because I think we are not advertising them. And so I think in this period, we should be pushing the agenda of youth using barrier protection and those post pills for preventing HIV, even after you've had a sexual encounter that you think may be quite suspicious. I don't know where this is going. Let's take this pill to prevent HIV infection.
Also say that people are not so concerned about contracting infections or not even thinking about your health and rather thinking about the pleasure that comes with it.
Yeah, I think what we as health professionals can do is to increase or ramp up the education. I mean, when we're younger, almost every hour on TV you can see an advert on HIV and its side effects, and it's quite bad. And I think we are not doing our best, especially in this period where we expect the risk-seeking behavior to be on the rise. We expect all these things to increase. We should also increase our level of education on all the platforms, all the major platforms, I think, to help bring people's mind to it that a moment of pleasure can lead to a lifetime of pain, can lead to a lifetime of so taking your platform as an advantage to educate the youth and everyone on the dangers of unprotected sex. HIV is not a joke, and you have it for life. And I mean, there is help, there is management for it, but you have the virus for life, and it's not the most pleasant thing. So I think we should choose responsibility over the temporal pleasure. Pleasures will not last more than 30 minutes, but imagine having to take drugs for the rest of your life. So I'm begging to all our conscience to think about these things, especially in this period. The barrier protection may not be the most pleasant, but perhaps may be the best for your general health.
Doc, we're grateful for your time this evening. Grateful once again. We have been speaking to Dr. Michael Manu. He is a medical officer at St. Elizabeth Hospital. Quite some worrying conversation over there. Well, you have to still stay safe just to protect yourself. Well, you head Doc for that. But still the festive season, as Christmas festivities continues, many Ghanaians are struggling to keep up with the holiday spirit alive amid soaring costs. Now, while this season typically brings joy and excitement, this year as a celebration feels far from festive for many who are voicing their frustrations over rising prices, I beg your pardon. With President-elect John Dramani Mahama set to take office soon, citizens are calling on him to address the economic challenges that have overshadowed this year's Christmas.
It's been normal, you know. Being an election year and stuff, some have their hopes dashed when you lose an election. It's not easy. Some too are happy. Yeah. So for those who won the elections, they're happy. Those who lost, like if you ask me, well, it's been like any other Christmas. It's been modest. Well, in the sense of celebrations, comparable to the previous years. I've seen a lot of modesty and unlike the pomp and pageantry attached to the previous ones.
This month, I'm going to shrine, Oma, Afia Bekan, but said the name is Sikono, and Yen, Botomunye, Ubiesu, Buhon the Sessan Kabia last year, now last 2 years, and say, dear, money you put upon the Sam, yes, I knew Juma Bafom, Scanikum, the Yeronomo Gasso Club, also Mokodia, a hardware about so near Mano and Trophy. More modern support to your prayer for Nanka or Yere or Tuan on support to Kakano. Yes, Tadi. It's a mamma, ya sofasa, Yebre.
There's nothing going on around this area. It doesn't even look like Christmas. I don't go out because the weather is hot. Right now, the sun is hot and I'm standing there. Last year, there were small parties. I got out a lot with my family and we have fun. But this year, it's like everyone is busy because of the economy. Ghana is running low and everything, and the economy is hard, so you can't go out like how we used to.
Actually, we thank God for a successful year as we are heading to the end of the year. The Christmas has been great, but all that just because some few things.
Well, we're back with some business news. Don't go anywhere. We have business and more news coming up shortly. And in business, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, has called for urgent actions to address the rising issues of non-performing loans in the country. He emphasized the importance of linking economic activities to the Ghana Card as a way to enhance accountability and reduce loan default. Dr. Amwa also recommended strengthening the credit scoring system by integrating it with the Ghana Card, which would help track borrowers and improve loan repayment rate. These measures, he believes, will create a more robust financial system, ensuring better management and sustainability of loans.
As long as you provide credit in any form, as a bank or even if you are selling normal tangible goods and services and it's on credit, you will have the problem with non-performance in terms of loans or credit. So once the economy is moving more from cash-based transactions to a credit-supported economy, we'll be confronted with non-performing loans. But the issue then is the high level of non-performing loans. That clearly shows that we are having challenges and difficulties in loan management from the banks. And that will start from when the loan request is made by the client. The process that the client will go through, the before loan process, right? Then the after loan process. What do we do and how best do we manage the entire process? One thing that we can rely on is the national identity. You see, the national identity is one particular unique identifier that if we are successful as taking a strong hold on it, it will help us to know who is who. And if you're able to link all our other economic activities around the national ID, then we have solved a big problem.
And in more business stories, Ghana will return to single-digit inflation in the first quarter of 2026, IC Research Institute has revealed. Now, according to IC Research, it's shifted forward its forecast to quarter 1 2026 on the back of the sluggish disinflation of earlier forest pressure. Quoting, we also flag the renewed external policy uncertainty as a race to exchange rate energy and food prices with a pass-through to inflation in 2025. However, the recent strong appreciation of the Ghanaian cedi will tame the price pressure on December 2024 into early 2025, potentially capping the outside risk. The stressed Bank of Ghana inflation forecast showed a slightly elevated profile, but remains a tad published on the horizon of single digits. In the IC Research June 2024 inflation update, Kani in the coal mine is also raised its 2024 inflation forecast to between 19.3% and 21.3% as a sluggish disinflation, highlighting the risk of overshot in BOG's initial end 2024 target of 15.0% to 2.0%. We're back with some sports news. Do stay. And in sports, the Globe Soccer Awards wrapped up its 15th annual gala in Dubai on December 27. Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi were passed over for the Ballon d'Or this year, but remain in contention alongside the best of the next generation here. And Ronaldo's case in his involvement probably has plenty to do with his former agent, Jose Mendes, being one of the founders of the award. Mendes triumphed once again in the best agent category, taking home the prize for the 12th time out of the 14 it has been on offer alongside the standout men's and women's categories. Here is a rundown of the other winners. So best men's player and 18 finalists, Vinicius Junior from Real Madrid grabbed that. Best male midfielder, 11 nominees over there, Jude Bellingham from Real Madrid. Best forward, 10 nominees over there. Vinicius Junior from Real Madrid grabbed that. Best women's player, 12 finalists. Atiana Bomati from Barcelona backed that. Best men's club, 10 finalists went to Real Madrid. Best women's club, 4 finalists. Barcelona grabbed that. Best coach, 7 finalists. All in men's football, Carlo Ancelotti from Real Madrid grabbed that. And best emerging player, 7 finalists, all men. Lamine Yamal from Barcelona also clinched that. And best agent, 7 nominees. Jose Mendes was the rightful owner of that, award. Best sporting director, 6 nominees. Piero Osilio from Inter Milan also grabbed that. Best Middle Eastern player, 5 finalists. Cristiano Ronaldo from Al Nassr also grabbed that. And best Middle Eastern coach, George Jesus from Al Hilal also grabbed that. And best Middle Eastern club, 4 finalists. Al Ain also it went for them. Revelation Award, Olympiacos over there. And Maradona Award, I beg your pardon, Jude Bellingham also grabbed that. Finally, maybe I can just do this. Real Madrid president Florentino Perez was given a career recognition award that named him the greatest president of all time. And former England and Manchester United defender Rio Ferdinand Neymar also received awards that recognize their career-spanning achievements. We're back with some international updates. At least 10 people were killed and several wounded when a Nigerian military fighter jet pursuing bandits in 2 villages mistakenly bombed civilians in the northwestern state of Sokoto on Wednesday, the state governor Ahmed Aliyu said. The military late on Wednesday said it had struck targets in the vicinity of Gideon Sama and Rumtua, identified as associated with the Lukurawa group, but did not provide any details on civilians affected. Last month, the military warned of a new insurgents group, Lukurawas, infiltrating the country's northwest region from neighboring Niger and Mali. Wednesday's deadly air assault occurred at around 5 o'clock GMT after 2 military jets dropped bombs in the villages. There is widespread insecurity in northwestern Nigeria, while a 15-year-old Islamist insurgency has plunged the northeast of the country, and gang separatist violence affects the southeast. The state authorities are investigating the military operation that killed people in the villages of Gideon Salman and Runtuwa in the Suran local government area. Let's wrap up the bulletin with some entertainment news to stay. And in entertainment, Ghanaian music star Fameye celebrated for his hits Praise. Like Praise, Thank You, and Nothing I Get, has taken a groundbreaking step in the music industry by launching gold-backed merchandise, the first of its kind in Ghana and arguably Africa. This initiative elevates artist branding, transitioning from conventional offerings like shirts and caps into luxury collectibles, solidifying Fameye's status as a premium global brand. The Fameye Music Gold Bag includes a Fameye customized studded leather like black folder, a 3D gold embossed portrait of logo, 1 gram of Fameye customized pure gold, and a PVC ownership ID card. 13 of Fameye's greatest hits on the customized PVC card pen drive. Now, Fameye described the initiative as a tribute to his career and achievements. This project, titled Premium, is here, marks Fameye's evolution as a global icon and paves the way for a new era in music merchandising.